Welcome back to the Weekly Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Owen, and today we'll be doing our draft episode we do every week, and the topic of this episode is going to be my first 1.0 2022 mock draft based on all the grades and draft scouting I've done so far. The draft order is going to be based on I'm not sure where the odds are from, but it's the current Super Bowl odds from, I think I found it on... it doesn't matter. I found some Super Bowl odds prior to week 4, and that's the Super Bowl odds we're going to use to determine our draft order from lowest to highest for this mock draft. So don't come at me for the order it's in. It's not what I predict. I just didn't feel like trying to set it out and predict what my order is going to be based on playoffs and all that stuff with only this many weeks into the season. But you're not here for me to talk about that. You're here to see who I picked for your team. So, starting off with the New York Jets at number 1 overall pick, I go Kayvon Thibodeau, edge out of Oregon. The Jets need to get Robert Saleh, his Nick Bosa. Carl Lawson was out this season after rupturing his Achilles, I believe. And he just needs that guy who can come out and just rush the passer and play well against the defense. Thibodeau is very versatile, can play a 4-3 edge, a 3-4 outside linebacker, and he's played stack linebacker for the Oregon Ducks a little bit. So he can really get moved all around and really give Saleh that chess piece he wants on defense, where the defense should probably be something he hangs his hat on to win games a lot as he lets Zach Wilson acclimate to the NFL right away. Number 2 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's going to be Derek Stingley, cornerback out of LSU. They just got rid of C.J. Henderson in a trade with the Carolina Panthers, so they're going to have to replenish that secondary, especially at the outside corner position, and Derek Stingley is one of the best ones we've seen come out the past few seasons. So even though he's a little injury prone, he's a little banged up in college, his talent is undeniable. So plugging him in, having Urban Meyer have that to work with on his defense, I think that defense will take another big step, especially with some young pass rushers. Getting another young stud number 1 corner out there is going to be very beneficial for this team, especially playing across from Griffin. It's not Shaquem. Shaquem's the one who plays linebacker for the Seahawks or whoever he's on now. It's Shaquille Griffin. There we go. That's what I'm thinking about. So yeah, Shaquille Griffin, Derek Stingley is going to be a pretty good 1-2 punch at corner for the Jags, and allowing that young pass rush to really get to the quarterback with some cover sacks and get their confidence up. The New York Giants at number 3 are going to get Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Big-bodied guy. The Giants have been struggling offensive-wise, and they haven't been able to find out a good combination for this offensive line. Neal has played guard, right tackle, and he's now playing left tackle this season. Hasn't missed a step, so you can play him anywhere on the line. I'd prefer him at left tackle and then move either Andrew Thomas to right tackle or inside to guard because of his kind of limited movement ability. So you can do that and just play your best 5 anywhere. And the Giants just need to find some basics, like they need to be good on the line and then worry about everything else because they have good skill position players. They have a quarterback potentially in the future. They have a good running back, and Neal just moves people in the run game. So this will go a long way with helping Saquon and go a long way with just fixing the offensive line, finally getting that right for if Daniel Jones is the quarterback or if they decide to take a quarterback later on in this draft or maybe in the future assign one, something like that. Maybe Deshaun Watson. Who knows? Detroit at 4 is going to take Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. Just taking the best player available. Someone on defense that can come up and really play all over the place. They are struggling with, coverage and stuff like that. Jeff Okuda's out for the season, but he wasn't really playing all that well, and the coaching staff isn't a big fan of him. But their safety group is not very strong, and Kyle Hamilton's one of the best safeties coming out of the draft in a long time. He's such a special, unique unicorn of a player. It could be a leader of your defense and come out and just make big splash plays, and you just need to add talent wherever you can. And it was between him and DeMarvin Leal for this pick, but I think Hamilton is more versatile and can help out a lot more places on this Detroit Lions defense, where they have a lot of guys up front on D-line, like Deshaun Robinson and Trey Flowers and Romeo Aguara, stuff like that. So I think that the secondary really needed to boost in talent first before we go on to the defensive line. Coming down with a cold, seasonal allergies here. Number 5, Houston Texans with Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. I have been on the Malik Willis for QB1 train since back in June. Spencer Rattler was never my favorite quarterback, and he especially has not done himself any favors now this season. You will not find him in this first round mock draft. I'm just saying. You will find other quarterbacks, just not Spencer Rattler. I don't even think he should come out this season, to be honest. I think he should stay one more year in college, maybe transfer out of Oklahoma, and just find a place where he can rehabilitate his image as a quarterback prospect. But Malik Willis just brings this special Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick athleticism to the quarterback position. And for a team that was relying on Deshaun Watson being there, and then all of this stuff came out, and they really want him to play, bring someone in who rivals him, or is probably better than him athletically, who could probably go out there and make some nice throws, because he's improved his accuracy a lot this season, which was his biggest knock. I think he can come in and really fill that Deshaun Watson-sized hole in their hearts. And I was debating not even taking a quarterback here, because they have Davis Mills. They put their first pick in last year's draft into that quarterback, so you wouldn't want to move off him this quickly. But from what he's shown so far against the Panthers and probably next week against the Bills, how he's going to struggle, I think bring someone in who maybe could take one season behind Davis Mills and give Davis Mills a full season to really boost his trade value and show what he can do as a starter, and allow Malik Willis to sit on the bench, really learn the offense, stuff like that, and start building an offense up around him in practice and things like that. I think this would probably be the best move for them at this position. Number 6 would have been the Chicago Bears, but they traded that pick to the Giants, so the Giants come back and get DeMarvin Leal, D-tackle out of Texas A&M. Best player available. I'm just trying to imagine DeMarvin Leal on the same D-line as Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. This would be phenomenal. Azeez Ojulari coming from his rush linebacker position. They got this. They'd have a defense to rival anyone in the league. They'd probably it's similar to how Washington had that stacked first round pick kind of defensive line. Ojulari was a second round pick, but regardless, this would probably be the best defensive line in the NFL if they were able to come up and get DeMarvin Leal at 6 here. So I just couldn't resist putting him here with the Giants and their second pick within top 7. So number 7, Atlanta Falcons. I'm taking Brandon Joseph, safety out of Northwestern. Just solid, amazingly good all-around safety. Played amazing as a freshman. Kept his play up. They just needed good players on the defense. They need to revamp that defense. They're riding out with Matt Ryan. They need to improve the defense right away. Brandon Joseph can tackle, can cover, can play the run, can play the pass. He does it all at a good level, and he comes in, he's plug and play, and just immediately boosts that safety room. And there's just such a problem, an epidemic of missed tackles on this Falcons defense, and I think he'll also come in and be able to help that out as well. Number 8, Philadelphia. Actually, they have 8 and 9 back-to-back picks because Indianapolis will have the 9th pick here. But at number 8, they take Kenyan Green, guard out of Texas A&M. Just very solid NFL caliber guard. They just got news that their starting guard would be out for the rest of the season, and they have the offensive line is getting old. And if they want to build around Jalen Hurts, they need to be able to come in and really just give him all the support that he can, especially in the offensive line in a division where you're going to have now the Giants with DeMarvin Leal and the Washington football team, and Micah Parsons coming off the edge with the Dallas Cowboys, and the edge rusher who his name has escaped me right now, that he's injured right now. They're a really good one. They got paid a lot of money, even though he probably shouldn't have got paid that much money. But they had to come out. They just got to revamp this offensive line. It's really old. And if they want to build around a quarterback, maybe it's not even Jalen Hurts, but if they want to build around a quarterback, I think starting with the offensive line is going to be a good thing, especially because they've invested so many first-round picks into wide receivers for this team. They have Dallas Goedert at tight end. I think the next big step on offense should be revamping that offensive line with some youth. At number 9, like I said, Philly having Indianapolis' pick because Carson Wentz is probably going to play 70% of the snaps. They take Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington. After fixing the offensive line, or really just not fixing, but helping the offensive line with their last pick, they come back and grab another DB to be able to compete with the Dallases. And now the Giants have Kenny Golladay, and Washington is building a decent receiver core with Terry McLaurin, Diami Brown, and Curtis Samuel. They need to get some more DBs back there. They got passed all over on by the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football recently, so give my second cornerback. If you only Trent McDuffie as an outside corner, which I don't understand why you wouldn't. I mean, he's 5'11", but he's the same size as Trey White, so people who say he's not big enough to be an outside corner is kind of weird, but whatever. He plays with the tenacity of an outside corner, he plays like someone who's 6'2", 200. But even if you don't like it that way, he's super quick and nippy and can play in the slot. So he can cover anywhere on the defense, and it'll just be another upgrade to just get good players. If you're Philly, you just need to get good players and build up that entire roster around Jalen Hurts or whoever you decide to play quarterback for you. The Washington football team here at 10, a bit of a reach. Not crazy reach, but a bit of a reach for me. Matt Corral, quarterback, Ole Miss. I wanted to give him Malik Willis, but he was gone already. And I know that I'm just trying to make the Panthers with Cam Newton connection, but Matt Corral has that athleticism that Ron Rivera would like. He has the ability to make plays out of structure, which there is very, like Taylor Heineke was what he really was able. That's how they were going to get any offense against the Bills this past week, was when Heineke rolled out or scrambled out or escaped and made plays on the run, made plays by himself. So Matt Corral can do that to a great degree, and he's very young, very limited starts right now, so he has any places to go. He's only got up to go. He's got a very good ceiling, and he hasn't even scratched the ceiling of it yet. So I like Matt Corral as a quarterback prospect, especially this week he'll face Alabama, I think. Maybe that's next week. It's one of these weeks he's facing Alabama. He can really show what he's got right now as a floor, and I think he can come in and be the Washington football team's quarterback of the future, which is what they really need to become, a good playoff contender, as long as they get the defense fixed. But that was for last week's episode, or early in the week's episode, so we'll move on. Number 11, Pittsburgh Steelers take Jackson Kirkland, offensive tackle, Washington. Pittsburgh's offensive line has been decent, but I think they just need to give Big Ben more time. I thought quarterback here, but I think that with the fact there's so many quarterbacks like Phil Jurkovec or Carson Strong or Desmond Ridder later in this draft, like a second round, if they really do plan on bringing Big Ben back, or if they think they have their guy on the roster between Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins, that fixing the offensive line for whatever quarterback they want to decide to go with in the future is going to need a good structure. And I think building the offensive line and getting that franchise left tackle, who, despite being embarrassed by Aidan Hunterson on national television, not even national television, just embarrassed in general, he plays good to everyone else, and Aidan Hunterson just really proved himself to be a first-round player, which you'll see in a couple of picks. But yeah, Pittsburgh needs to come out, just keep building an offensive line. I know your rookies from this season are doing decently, but just keep building it up so that way you can have a good rushing attack and protect your quarterback in the future, whoever you decide that to be, or even if it's old Big Ben and he needs to be kept clear because he's old and geriatric. So I think this is all around just a good pick for the Steelers. Good, solid pick. Philadelphia with their third pick of the draft, with the Miami's pick at number 12, they take Drake Jackson, edge out of USC. Similar to the offensive line, they're getting older on the defensive line, and they really like to prioritize pass rush. Drake Jackson is a pure pass rusher right at the gate. He maybe needs to work a little bit on his run defense, but he brings a lot of strength and toolkits to the pass rush that I think that he can come in and at least rotate early on with Derek Burnett and Josh Sweat early on in the season, and just be that pass rusher as he builds up his football IQ and run defending from the edge position. But I think he's my second best edge rusher in this class, and the Eagles just need to add good players wherever they can on both offense and defense, but more specifically defense, because right now their offense, their skill positions, and their offensive line now that we've given them Kenyan Green have been invested in heavily with first-round picks. So start investing in that defense and just try to see if those first-round picks pan out and you get those talents. Number 13, New England, Andrew Booth, cornerback out of Clemson. Bigger cornerback out of a big-time school. They're going to be losing Stephon Gilmore after this season, and they need to have a running partner with J.C. Jackson. So that was really my thought process going into this. My third best cornerback on the board, just found next best cornerback, gave him to New England. They'll work with someone, especially with someone as raw and as inexperienced as Andrew Booth is. I think New England will be able to come in and really unlock his potential with this coaching staff. How Bill rolls. Minnesota Vikings at 14 will take Ahmad Gardner, cornerback out of Cincinnati. The cornerback who was on the Chiefs now, he's escaping my mind. I think he got cut, actually. Did not work out. The first-round cornerback out of TCU. You know who I'm talking about. And Mike Hughes also did not work out. They've swung and missed on some first-round cornerbacks recently. They brought Patrick Peterson in, but he's been kind of meh so far this season. He's older, too, so getting a corner who's long and athletic like Ahmad Gardner, who would come in and you can just say, hey, man on man, just take this guy, would be pretty good. Good comp, I think, would be C.J. Henderson, but I think Gardner likes to play the run a little bit more than Henderson does, so just that level of talent if you can think of that coming into the Minnesota Vikings and try to just fix that defense or really just, round it out. They got some safeties back there in Harrison Smith, who's getting older, so they need to capitalize and get him some good running buddies back there in the back end of this defense. Cincinnati at 15. This was definitely a reach for me, but I think that Darian Kennard was not a good fit for this offense, and I wanted to give him an offensive lineman, so I gave him Zion Johnson, guard out of Boston College. He's definitely a guard, and you could pair him up with Jackson Carman, or move one of them out to tackle, and then have Quentin Spain as your other guard, or let Quentin Spain go and play these guys both at guard. But it'll give you some options at offensive line, which is what you need to do to build around Joe Burrow. Your defense is, it can be improved on, but right now we need to keep the franchise quarterback clean, and you got them a lot of weapons, so I think adding to the offensive line is something you need to do early on in this draft, unlike we did the last draft. So Zion Johnson was the best fit at a position of need for me for the Cincinnati Bengals. At 16, the Jets with Seattle's pick is taking Kyer Elam, cornerback out of Florida. Jets need to add more corners. They added the pass rusher and they added a corner. Just improve this defense and then get this defense to a point where it can win you games in this in the AFC. So adding a player who's long, athletic, and just a perfect man coverage corner or a deep thirds corner, which is what Robert Saleh likes to run, that Legion of Boom kind of corner stuff, like what they ran with Richard Sherman last year or 2 years ago. And then you have that pass rusher, Kayvon Thibodeaux. So adding those two elements, I think, would help improve this defense a lot and give Robert Saleh something to work with. Perfect. This is my favorite fit so far in this draft class, since I've been saying, is Tennessee Titans Darian Kennard, guard / tackle out of Kentucky. They could probably try playing him at right tackle. That's where he's playing at Kentucky right now. He has very slow feet for a tackle, so I kind of wanted to move him to the guard at the NFL level, but he's just a monster. He's a monster of a man and can just move people against their will in the run game. So just put him there and put Derrick Henry, run right off his ass, and then there's no way you're stopping that. There's no combination of people or no single defender that can get off of that block and then make the tackle against Derrick Henry. If you had Darian Kennard blocking for Derrick Henry, it would just be insane amount the amount of power they'll both be able to generate. 18, Carolina takes Christian Harris, linebacker out of Alabama. I didn't really find an offensive tackle that I liked here for the Carolina Panthers, and I feel like they have this defense that's been improved, and they have a decent secondary now with the corners they have, and Jeremy Chin at safety, and they have good pass rushers, but the one area that I think they could have improved was middle linebacker. So I gave them Christian Harris, who's probably the best middle linebacker in this draft class, out of Alabama, smart player, only has room to grow, so even if you don't want to play him right away, you can keep your starter from this season in, and then just rotate him in later in the season, and I think that his ceiling will be bigger than whoever you have there right now, and he'll be able to come in and really just make that an elite unit back there at defense, so Matt Rule can hang his hat on that, while also having, Sam Darnold emerging and all those offensive weapons there as he tries to fix the offensive line later in this draft. The Las Vegas Raiders take Aidan Hunterson, edge out of Michigan. Aidan Hunterson really has come out this season. He's really shown some stuff that I thought I had questions with. He has shown to improve that with speed and bend and some pass rush moves now that I think he's a little lighter. He's playing a little lighter, and he's playing more of a traditional edge role. So I think the Vegas Raiders found a good one in Max Crosby, but they've swung and missed on Arden Key and Cleveland Farrell and all that stuff. So they need to make a running buddy pass rush wise with Max Crosby, especially in a division where they had to face Justin Herbert and Denver's going to find a quarterback eventually, but also Patrick Mahomes. They need to get after them, and you saw what the pass rush could do to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So getting a second pass rusher opposite Max Crosby would be very good for the Raiders if they want to come out and try to actually win this division. At number 20, speaking of the AFC West, the Denver Broncos take Sam Howell, quarterback out of North Carolina. They really like playing with Teddy Bridgewater, who can just operate their offense effectively, be accurate, not make a lot of mistakes, and that's what Sam Howell does, but he gives you a bigger ceiling than you can get with Teddy Bridgewater. He's younger, he has more to grow. He spot on reminds me of Baker Mayfield, so if you just add Baker Mayfield into this Denver Broncos offense, maybe with a little more ball control and less, gunslinger kind of attitude, then I would think that would really maximize what Denver's offense is trying to do, and it would just be a better version of their offense they have right now this season, which has them at 3-0. So I like that fit right there for them. Sam Howell to Denver. At number 21, New Orleans has Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. Imagine him up with Michael Thomas. They just need a number good. They need to find a better number 2 opposite Michael Thomas for whoever plays in wide quarterback there. If it's going to be James again next year or whatever. But Chris Olave, great route runner, could probably be that deeper route running kind of guy where Michael Thomas is the dude you want to get the ball in his hands, run after the catch kind of guy. Chris Olave, his biggest weakness is run after the catch, so he could be your route technician, down the field route technician kind of guy who can just catch the ball and move the chains creates artificial space for Michael Thomas to run those slants underneath, those underneath routes and those mid-tier routes to grab the ball and just go. Dallas, I'm giving Daxton Hill, safety out of Michigan. Dallas's DBs, cornerbacks specifically, have been stepped up this season, but they still have struggled to find, an elite safety. I remember back when they were tied to Earl Thomas, and every single top safety free agent out there, they're always tied to. So I think finally getting a guy who has like track 4.2 level speed in Daxton Hill, who can cover the entire field and also isn't afraid to come up and defend the run, I think that would be something they'd really value and that could fit a really good need, or really big need for them. Just needing one of those kind of like free range, free safeties. They brought in Malik Hooker and all these people to try to fill that role. I think Daxton Hill could actually do that for them. Number 23, Arizona gets Garrett Wilson, wide receiver at Ohio State. Now, you may be wondering why wide receiver out of every position for the Arizona Cardinals. You got AJ Green for a season, and Christian Kirk, he's maybe finally emerging, but Andy Isabella hasn't given you really that third option you were looking for. So if they want to come out and actually run 3 wide receivers all the time, I think getting a guy like Garrett Wilson, who works well with the ball in his hands, where Kirk can be your slot receiver and DeAndre Hopkins could be your route technician or deep play kind of guy. I think Garrett Wilson could be that good intermediate route dude who, if you get the ball in his hands, he can make something special happen. I know they have a kind of guy like that in Rondale Moore, but he's more of like a gadget kind of player on offense. So I think Garrett Wilson could be that more typical wide receiver that can come out and catch. If this pick bothers you as an Arizona fan, I was debating between a couple other guys too, so this is going to be one of the most volatile picks in this mock draft, so don't expect me to go wide receiver every time. It was just, I thought, best player available here and would fit a need since AJ Green is going to be gone after the season, and Rondale Moore was frequently injured in college. Christian Kirk is very inconsistent, so I thought bringing another wide receiver in that could compete and be like a 1A kind of guy was a good idea. Probably my least favorite pick of this entire mock, to be honest with you. Los Angeles Chargers. Now this one is going to be weird, but let me explain. George Pickens, wide receiver, Georgia. Now they have Mike Williams, who's been showing out and been really, really good for them this season, but he's going to be free agent soon, if not after this season. And George Pickens is not going to be able to play at all this season. If he did, he'd probably be the number 1 wide receiver. He's really big, really good with the ball in his hands, and he's a good route technician. I think that he would fit the Mike Williams role in this offense really well right out the gate, like day one. Because after he comes back from his injury, he'll be all set to go, and they won't have to pay Mike Williams as a number 1 receiver when they're going to have to pay Justin Herbert soon and pay Christian Slater eventually, and all these other people they're going to have to pay. I think that they could save money by just drafting Pickens and letting Williams walk, and Pickens is the same size and can do things that Mike Williams is doing right now, right out the gate. As soon as he rebounds from his injury, he should be a good Mike Williams replacement. Cleveland takes Myjai Sanders, edge out of Cincinnati. The pass rush for the Browns has been pretty good now this season, but with Jadeveon Clowney on a 1-year contract and probably not going to be too good or staying there for too long in Cleveland after this year, I think getting a guy who can rush from multiple different areas in the NFL, or on the defensive line, who is very quick off the ball and has some pass rush moves already, and even if you bring Clowney back for another season, can really stand from just coming in and rotating in as a pass rusher right away and not really an early down kind of guy. Sanders can be that dude and then eventually become that 2 rusher next to Myles Garrett who can come in and be like a 10 sack per year guy, similar to what the Broncos did with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. Miami, picking from San Francisco's pick, takes Brandon Smith, linebacker out of Penn State. They traded Bernard McKinney, which is a little, or I think they cut him, which was a little curious, but I think that Brandon Smith, who runs like a 4.3 something at like 240 or 230, is insane, and it would be a great defensive chess piece for the Miami Dolphins and just brings a talent level to the linebacker core they're missing right now. They have some good defensive line pieces and good edge rusher pieces, like with Van Ginkel coming out of his linebacker position and the down linemen they have, and the DBs are amazing. There was no real good offensive line pick here. I was thinking Thayer Munford, but I have him as a third-round grade. I didn't want to reach that hard for a player to fill that need, so I gave them Brandon Smith just to give him some pop from the linebacker core for this Miami Dolphins defense, which would really solidify this defense is one of the elite in the NFL, in my opinion. 27, we got Baltimore drafting George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue. Calais Campbell needs to be replaced soon, and they lost Matthew Judon this past year in the free agency. So George Karlaftis is the perfect Baltimore Ravens kind of pass rusher. He'll fit right into that Calais Campbell mold with this bigger-bodied guy who looks like a D tackle, but who can rush from the edge, has strong hands, can play anywhere on the D line, nose tackle, 5 tech, 3 tech, 5-eye, things like that, or 4-eye. I'm sorry. He'll be able to go out and play that, and I looked at him and Aidan Hunterson just scream Baltimore Raven at me, and I think Karlaftis is more than Hutchinson even then. So I think Karlaftis is the perfect player to team match here, especially at the edge rusher position for the Baltimore Ravens. Kind of different than what they got with Odafe Owe. Odafe Owe is going to be more that Matthew Judon kind of guy, rushing from the linebacker spot, where Karlaftis would be more that down lineman, 5-tech dude, rushing in with power bull rush like Calais Campbell. Kansas City takes Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. Really showing out this season. The Arkansas offense runs through Treylon Burks, and someone with Treylon Burks' skill set with the run after the catch and gadget, he's kind of like Laviska Shenault, but better and healthier. I think Shenault was a little faster, but he's this big guy who plays like a gadget slot receiver type dude who can also run some good routes. He's not the fastest dude, but he does make plays after the catch somehow. So someone with that skill set can really be utilized for Kansas City Chiefs offense, whose only receivers under contract after the season are Tyreek Hill, Cornell Powell, and I forget what the last one is. But yeah, so they really need help on reloading the wide receiver core, and Treylon Burks is just like the best remaining wide receiver available for me in this mock draft. 29, the Buffalo Bills have Tyler Linderbaum, center guard out of Iowa, converted defensive lineman, or converted player to a different position, so they have a large ceiling. Check. Very smart player who's coming from a well-respected college that the team has shown that they respect and they like for that position. Iowa's offensive line. Check. Someone who's less than like 290 or less weight than a typical player of that position, center, would technically be, like an Ed Oliver. Check. Wrestling background. Check. He just checks off all the boxes for the Buffalo Bills, and especially if they want to run more of a zone concept run game with Devin Singletary or Zach Moss, like inside zones and things like that, and they need someone who can move. I think Tyler Linderbaum is like perfect match for the Buffalo Bills. So he's up there with George Karlaftis, the Baltimore Ravens, as one of the best player to team matches I've made in this mock draft. Okay, so this is the one where a lot of people who make mock drafts are out there and they're like, oh, this is my guy. This is never going to happen in real life, but I like this guy so much, and I had to find a spot for him early on just to give him the spotlight. And if you watched my last week's draft episode, you might know who this is, but the Green Bay Packers at number 30 need linebacker help, especially with pass coverage and stuff like that, and they're not going to draft a wide receiver. I already know that, even though there were some I think would probably go good here. But I'm going to give them a linebacker specifically so that way they can really improve that defense and try to win with defense when Jordan Love becomes their quarterback after the season. So I'm pulling the trigger on it. Second round grade on him, so it's not that big of a reach. Just a couple spots below Brandon Smith. So if you're okay with taking Brandon Smith here, you should be okay with taking Cam Jones, linebacker out of Indiana. Weak side linebacker type who, if he gets kept clear by a good D-line, which the Packers do have, he can go in and make aggressive plays on the ball. He's a really good athlete, and I really enjoy how he pass covers, especially in zone coverage, where he goes out and he finds players instead of just backing up watching the quarterback's eyes. He goes and finds a player, then looks back at the quarterback and plays really good coverage and has the athleticism to man cover these tight ends and running backs in the league. He also, even if he doesn't make every tackle he attempts, he is able to slow him down, and most times his attempt at tackles gives his teammates enough time to come make the tackle. So even if he misses tackles, he has himself in the right area to come out there or go out there and slow him up enough for his teammates to make a tackle. His biggest issue is getting off of blocks, but like I said, if the really good Packers D-line can keep him clean, I think that he would be able to excel in that. So yeah, this is definitely one of my guys. He lays the wood too. He kills kids in the run game, so he'll definitely knock some people out. So I think this would never happen. Most people don't even have him on their big boards. They don't even know who he is. And I'm advocating as the 30th overall pick for the Green Bay Packers. But this is my mock draft, and there you go. Cam Jones, linebacker out of Indiana. Check it out. Cam Jones and Micah McFadden. Best linebacker duo in the nation. You heard it right. Indiana, baby. 31, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Isaiah Spiller, running back, Texas A&M. You've seen the Bucs rotate through running backs this season with Leonard Fournette and Giovanni Bernard and Rojo, and they've all had their issues with fumbling or not being able to catch the ball and causing interceptions, and they just don't have that true difference maker who can go be in the backfield and be an every down back, and that's what Isaiah Spiller is. He has improved as a pass catcher over his time in college, and I think has untapped potential there, kind of like similar to what Jonathan Taylor and A.J. Dillon had coming out of college, especially Jonathan Taylor. He also runs mean, he runs with power, he runs between the tackles, and he has that breakaway speed. We saw him have a 26 or 64-yard touchdown against Arkansas this past weekend, so he has that all-around back qualities that he can come in and be an instant starter for the Bucs, a Super Bowl team, and add a different dimension to this offense that is becoming really, really dependent on Tom Brady passing the football, which, as he gets older, is not going to be very good to build your entire offense around. And our last pick of this entire draft, the 32nd overall pick, would have been the Los Angeles Rams, but it is the possession of the Detroit Lions, and they take a quarterback, not Spencer Rattler, not Desmond Ridder, not Carson Strong. They take Jay Kaner, quarterback out of Fresno State. I finally got to him this week, and I know he's a transfer out of my personal favorite team, University of Washington Huskies. But quarterback out of Fresno, he's in the conversation for the Heisman this year. He's only started a handful of games. I think this is his first year starting, and he looks like a veteran out there. And if you're the Detroit Lions and you have Jared Goff under contract, you bring this guy in, you sit him on the bench, you get him in the weight room, you get him up from 195 to like 210, and you let him run the playbook. So when he comes out there, he can step in and be an immediate starter for the Lions, and brings athleticism, brings the juice, brings his arm talent to throw off platform with different arm angles and things like that. He just needs more time to season. He needs more game time in college. He'll need those preseason games to get used to the NFL speed. But I'm telling you, since he hasn't played a lot, I can't bring him up that high in this mock draft. But if there's anybody who can be the biggest riser in this draft, it'd probably be Jay Kaner. He might even be competing for quarterback number 2 with Matt Corral at the end of the season, but right now Malik Willis and Matt Corral have those spots locked up. He's definitely higher up than Spencer Rattler right now on my list. So Jay Kaner, Fresno State, the future Detroit Lions football. So that is my mock draft. If you haven't already, and I'm pretty sure it'll be out by the time this one comes out, but if you check the YouTube description or even the Spotify description, I believe I'll be able to put it in there. There's a link to a Discord we're making for all the fans after we got 100 subscribers. We decided we're going to make that so that way we can talk football and draft and things like that with the people who want to subscribe to us and listen to what we have to say on a weekly basis. That way you guys can all yell at me personally about how much I messed up your team's pick in this mock draft. But I had a lot of fun with this one. Definitely some picks that aren't going to happen, but I got to show off some of my guys and how I rank these players right now. So thank you for watching. Check out next week for our review of the Week 4 games and predicting Week 5, and I'll have another draft-centered episode coming out later in the week, as is this one from the Week 3, Week 4 preview review podcast episode, and I might have some individual ones coming out soon covering different prospects or different games or different concepts and things like that. So stay tuned on YouTube, and if you were just here for the podcast, check it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. But for right now, I'm done. It is 3 a.m. I'm going to sleep. I have work in 3 hours. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you later.